This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and Forged Irish Stout. Delighted today to be joined with Kalle Sauerland. Like Red London buses, I don't speak to you for a couple of months and now I've got you twice in 2 days. How are we?
As reliable as a London bus.
I don't know, are they reliable or not?
Well, I don't know. I'm more of a tube man myself.
Yeah, I'm the same. Josh Kelly made weight today. Look good on the scales. I'm excited for tomorrow now. Everything's all weighed in. Hopefully no more hiccups till tomorrow night.
Yeah, but they're both actually, Ramirez as well. They both look very comfortable at the weight, which, sets up for a good fight tomorrow night, live on DAZN from 7 p.m.
With this fighting on DAZN as well, and having two broadcasters, how do you find a benefit with that when you've got Channel 5 and DAZN as well, and sort of all working on different platforms?
Hey, look, we're grateful for every platform that wants to get into boxing, and I think, Channel 5 flying that flag on terrestrial television is so important for the sport. We saw it with Harlem Eubank last month as well, over 2 million views on terrestrial TV. Those aren't hardcore boxing fans, and love the hardcore boxing fans. Of course, that's our bread and butter. But a bit of marmalade with a few mainstream fans, and hopefully win them over as well. And we've had a great year on Channel 5, and then you've got to look at what DAZN's doing in boxing, and it's phenomenal. Look at their December schedule, but just look at the whole year's schedule of what DAZN has pumped out. Second to none. And when I say second to none, I don't mean that just now, but in the history of the sport, I can't think of, you can talk about HBO and Showtime in the States over many years flying the flag, but on a global level, the amount of money they put into the sport, but also in terms of what that money's done in terms of generating the amount of content and fights for boxing. Yeah, and I know they've also got Champions League rights in some countries and big leagues, Serie A, etc., etc. But it's unbelievable for our sport of boxing, which is a niche sport. It is a niche sport that a big organisation like that has done that is great, and we're delighted to do all our stuff that we've done with them. It's been an amazing time, and can't sing their praises highly enough for flying that flag. And I think every fan should be grateful for a platform like that.
Another thing I did want to touch on, I didn't touch on it yesterday. I think it was Tuesday. News came out yesterday of Wasserman and Josh Kelly teaming up to save a local amateur gym. How nice is that a feeling to do? So always give back to the community.
Yeah, I mean we've done loads of projects like this, both in the UK and abroad. Worked a lot with Stonebridge, where we're North London boys, and that was a project near and very dear to our hearts. Stonebridge Boxing Club in North London, big up Stonebridge.
Got a guy from Stonebridge on the card tomorrow.
Yeah, we do, which isn't a coincidence. It's not from Sunderland, but it's great. We had one project for many years where it was taking kids off the street and putting them into gyms, and we got a couple at Turn Pro. They weren't that good, but I'm sure a world champion would one day come out of that still. But yeah, this one's a special one. It's obviously for Josh as well, but also a little bit of as a thank you. We've done a lot of shows up in the northeast in the last couple of years, and this is an area that there's so much potential, especially at a young age, where you want people to be getting into boxing. It's an ideal age. It's an ideal way to start a career is to start boxing young. Look at the likes of, Anthony Joshua. He started earlier than he was. Yeah, so it's great to start boxing at an early age. Up in the northeast, you see a lot of young talent. Unfortunately, not that many turn pro. You see, there are very few world champions from the northeast, which doesn't really make sense given the amount of interest in boxing up here. We're going to be sold out tomorrow night, week before Christmas. It's fantastic. People probably got better things to do with their money than spending on boxing shows, but we're delighted that we've got a full house tomorrow night, and the potential up in this area for boxers to come through. I just feel that it's been a bit maybe neglected over the years. I mean, if you look at, around here, you've got Middlesbrough, Sunderland, Newcastle, 3 massive cities. There's other ones I probably haven't mentioned, but you've got some real good talents from up here, and that's got to translate into gold, whether it's British level, European or world.
Absolutely. And just as we move on, I know we did speak about it yesterday, but you talked about negotiations with Conor, Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. completely being off. Charlie yesterday caught up with Conor, Benn, and Eddie Hearn actually said yesterday about sort of Eubank asking for silly money, and which would have been his career highest payday. These comments from Matchroom and Benn true?
Well, I'm not going to go into details because it was a commercial discussion. Like I said in the interview yesterday, I said, it was a commercial discussion behind closed doors, and I'm not going to say more than that. I'd say that the fight would have been absolutely huge in the UK. I mean, mind-bogglingly huge. But outside the UK, it's another fight. It's not interesting. So revenue-wise, everything was about the UK. So it's quite an easy pot to read on it, and I think we tried everything to do to max it. Now, I'm not going to say what exactly it was around that, because it was a private negotiation between ultimately 4 parties, and those 4 parties couldn't come to an agreement, and that's more or less it.
And I know we did touch on other options for Eubank, IBO being one of them, but do you feel like sort of with fights that generate almost as much interest as Conor, Benn, what domestic fights do you feel like you would look at or other fights that could be near as much interest?
We're looking at domestic fights right now. I'll answer that question in a few weeks' time. No, I mean, look, obviously the IBO has been mandated. It's something that we're negotiating at the moment, and we'll look from there.
Just moving on, we talk about your man Mairis Briedis. The IBF came out and said that they were not willing to sanction Jai Opetaia versus Ellis Zorro. I think because Zorro hasn't got a good enough ranking in the IBF. And this down when obviously Mairis Briedis is the mandatory for the IBF for Jai Opetaia. This could lead to, and I think it is leading to, Opetaia vacating his IBF title, putting that in the bin, which would then make Mairis Briedis against Zula Ramirez, I believe. Sort of excited for this news, but
well, there's a few things that could happen. Yeah. First of all, as it stands right at the time of giving this interview, I'm not aware of any information that he's dropped the belt. I'm hearing rumours that he might drop the belt, but that obviously is down to him and Mick, his manager, to them to make a decision on that. We can only react off that decision. Mairis is in training. I spoke to him this morning. He's excited mostly to fight Opetaia, of course, because if you haven't seen that fight, go back and look at it. It's an absolute barn burner. And people who say Mairis Briedis is finished, well, it's quite interesting because the first 6 rounds down under, he just didn't turn up. He went down for the first time in his career, nose broke, and then the old man, as people are calling him, the second 6 rounds, so 6-12, he absolutely pulverises Opetaia. Pulverises him, pillar to post. The man is asleep on his shoulder twice. I mean, absolutely, breaks his jaw in, I can't remember how many places it was reported, puts him out for 8 months, right? So, no, Briedis not finished. He wants Opetaia again. But more than anything, he wants to become a 4-time world champion. And some people mustn't forget when they're saying, "Oh, Opetaia's now number 1 in the division." That one I can't work out. Belts here or there. Briedis is the number 1 cruiserweight on planet Earth right now. He won the World Boxing Super Series a couple of years ago, not a couple of decades ago, a couple of years ago, right? Beating Dorticos. He's still the only man who's really given Usyk hell. Many people saw him winning that fight. Many people saw it a draw. Many people also saw Usyk winning the fight. It was one of them last round job. Ask Usyk. So to say that Opetaia is now the king of the division is a complete load of bloody nonsense. He won 6 rounds against Mairis in his backyard, and then got smashed to bits in the second 6 rounds. Both of them fantastic warriors that night. Great fight, and credit for Jay for that amazing performance. I don't mean to like saying this is a go at Jay, not at all. But I'd love to see the fight again. That's the fight I'd love to see again. But it's boxing. Maybe that fight then would happen down the road. I don't know. Could also be that he vacates and they put him in as the next challenger. There's lots of things that's not in our control. I wouldn't say not in our interest because, as I said, I like the Opetaia fight. But Ramirez, fantastic fight as well. I've got to admit, when I looked at the rankings a couple of weeks ago, so I was thinking, it's like, Ramirez? That's him, isn't it? Yeah? Because I remember him, because he done half Abraham in one of his last fights. That was a super middleweight. So, we got an open... we got some revenge going there from our side. Mairis has got to step up to that one, if that's the case, and that's a great one. He's with, I believe, with Golden Boys, so we get on well with Oscar and his team and Eric, and I'm sure we'll put that together, no problem. But again, we can only react to what they do. But either way, fantastic fights,
But I know the situation does suit you in a way with Briedis, but to have this news come out 2 weeks before your fight, with someone like Opetaia, what do you make of that situation that the IBF have come out 2 weeks from it, from a massive payday for him?
We didn't object to the fight. We didn't object to this fight taking place. So it's obviously between Opetaia and the IBF, but we didn't object. We were absolutely fine with them doing this because we were told that in February we will be boxing Opetaia. So for us, absolutely fine. We got no problem with the fight taking place, but it is a matter between the IBF and the Opetaia team. But I've got absolutely. I'd like to see Opetaia fight Zorro next week for the IBF, but I don't think that's going to happen. But there's no objections from our side as long as we're assured that we're boxing him in February. So all good with that. But as I said, it's a matter between the IBF and Opetaia.
Another thing I did want to talk about, crossing over from a different side of boxing. Leeds has been very, very famous for many good nights with Josh Roynton and this and that, but it sounds like there's going to be another few nights. Apparently, I'm hearing rumblings.
Yeah, there's rumblings. The Misfits are moving. They're heading up north again. You're going to see an announcement in the next few days. Leeds, January 20th. I'm not going to say too much more. I can't say too much more. The 20th of January, Leeds. Massive signing for Misfits going to be announced. We'll be headlining that card. As always, a fantastic night of Misfits boxing.
I look forward to it, mate. I look forward to it.
The announcement's huge.
Yeah, I think it definitely is huge. Yeah. And just as 2023 closes towards an end, how do you reflect on this year as for Wasserman, and how do you look to push on for 2024?
Well, I think we've done. I think next week with Linden and Arthur boxing in Saudi, it'll be our 28th or 29th unit, we call it. So involvement, so shows, promoted shows, etc. So it's been a busy year. Yeah, 5 pay-per-views in the UK. I think that's the chart topper this year. So we're delighted at that. Certainly the only UK promoters that can say we've done 5 pay-per-views this year.
Absolutely. Kalle, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to speak to me. Always good to catch up with you, and I'm sure we'll enjoy a good night in Sunderland tomorrow. Nearly said Newcastle there. Thank you, mate. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you.